G'day. Welcome, my friend, to WTK, the What to Know show about Bitcoin. I'm your host, Peter Whalen, and I've been asked about Bitcoin a lot this year. My friends know that I'm a certified C++ programmer. That's the computer language that the Bitcoin code is written in. I'm also a real estate investor, and I've traded stocks and options through my own brokerage account. But my main job is I'm an IT management consultant. I get paid for my perspective. However, my friends never ask me about two-phase commits or cryptography or the other technical knowledge that I have. It's the rapid rise in the price of Bitcoin is why they, and you, are interested in it. I'm recording this on December 31st, and it's risen 14-fold this year alone. The story of money is a complicated subject, but you don't have to know that story in order to use money. So I've done my homework and researched Bitcoin, and I'll try to make cryptocurrency a little less cryptic for you. It's complex and not yet as easy as cash to deal with. So what's the difference between an investment, a lottery ticket, and Bitcoin? An investment is something that you expect to make money for you. A lottery ticket is something that you buy all your life hoping that it will make money for you, even though you've never met anyone who's won big. And Bitcoin is something that interests you because its price has risen so high and so fast. And you wonder, will it make money for me, even though you're not sure what it is? So as you continue to watch, you'll learn what to do to protect yourself, and I'll show you how to get $25 for free if you want to. I'm not qualified to give financial advice. And to be fair...
Well, to be fair...
Oh, don't say to be fair. I hate when people say to be fair. It sounds like, to be fair.
To be fair. Well, to be fair.
I don't know what the price of Bitcoin will be tomorrow, and neither does anyone else. I'd feel horrible if I told you to buy and the price dropped to zero. And if I told you to not buy and it went up to $1 million, that would be even worse. Personally, I'd buy Bitcoin before I buy a lottery ticket, but to be clear, I'm not advising you on what to do with your money. Bitcoin was designed to give you something to trade with another person, to put your money fully within your control, without requiring anyone else to be involved. Now, you know how to use cash, but the story of money is complicated. How did we get to the point where the government issues money and we all agree on what it's worth? You can use cash without knowing anything about it or how it came to be. We don't have to think about what happens to make it all work. The institutions, the checks and balances, the regulations, which are complicated. When we think of cash, debit cards, or credit cards, we know how to use them. And Bitcoin is not yet that simple. So, did you buy Bitcoin in 2013 when it was in the news and cost $25? Probably not. Do you feel like you missed out? This might make you feel a little better. Would you do a thought experiment with me? Pretend that you bought 40 coins for $1,000 4 years ago. They'd be worth over $700,000 today. And that's more money than most people ever have. So ask yourself these questions. If you had 40 Bitcoins for the last 4 years, would you feel like a genius for buying them? Or would you feel lucky? Would you hold it or would you sell it? Would you have sold some when it went up to $10,000 or $100,000 or $500,000? I imagine that I would have. 4 years is a long time. Would you have lost your keys? It's estimated that the keys to over 3 million Bitcoin are lost. That money is unusable forever. It's like burning $50 billion. So if you didn't sell it or lose it, there's a possibility it would have been stolen. As the price of Bitcoin rises, the incentive for people to try to steal or cheat you out of it also goes up. So when you hear of Bitcoin hacks, it's not Bitcoin itself that was hacked. When a bank is robbed, we don't call that a money hack. It's the centralized exchanges, which are the main entry points where money is transferred. and the wallet software, which is where a lot of people store their Bitcoin, that's what gets hacked. Would you have stored your money in an exchange? Check out this clip from American Gods.
No. Fuck. A1 Security Services.
Can I speak to A. Haddock?
This is Andy Haddock.
Mr. Haddock, this is the Chicago police. You got a man at the First River Bank on the corner of Market and Second?
Yeah, that's right, officer. It should be James O'Gorman. Is there a problem?
No problem, sir. Just wanted to make sure everything's in order.
Well, thank you.
We're just concerned because something like this really ought to be handled by 2 personnel.
Oh, tell me about it.
That was a bank robbery. Would you hand your money over to some guy on the street? That's effectively what people are doing with central exchanges. Mt. Gox is one example. It was the biggest and by far exchange for Bitcoin a few years back. And Mt. Gox sounds like a solid, mountain fortress, but it was really just a guy with a website saying, "I'll take your money and I'll tell you how much Bitcoin you have," and a little more to it than that, but not much. And Mt. Gox actually stood for Magic the Gathering Open Exchange, a repurposed card trading website. Millions of dollars were stolen, and that's just one of over a dozen exchanges that have disappeared. And that was the biggest one at the time. So people send money to exchanges where they have no idea who runs them, where they're located, and trying to get your money out of them is more difficult than sending the money. The exchange websites crash every time Bitcoin prices change dramatically because they can't keep up with the demand. If your bank website crashes, you can always walk into the branch or go to an ATM. You don't have that option with exchanges. They're not banks. You can't walk into them, and they do not yet offer deposit insurance. So don't store your Bitcoin on an exchange. There's also many popular wallets that have been hacked. In some cases, programming is done by amateurs who don't follow the normal IT code review procedures. This has resulted in millions of dollars being accidentally locked away. There's also the market risk that you can't do much about. Half the Bitcoin in the world is controlled by around 1,000 people. So it's possible for them to move the price just by placing a large sell order, then buying it back at a lower price. There's lots of experts that are making predictions for what the price of Bitcoin ought to be. And some say that it will go back to zero, and others say it will go over $1 million per coin. So how can you tell who the real Bitcoin experts are? I predict that someone's going to be closest to being right because every outcome has been predicted. That doesn't make them an expert or me an expert. The ones who predict zero are looking at all the unsolved problems with it, which are many. And the ones who predict 1 million are looking at what Bitcoin aspires to be. I imagine the price will go higher due to Metcalfe's law. That's the network effect. That means that the easier it is to buy, the more expensive it gets, and the more people want it. And until this year, 2017, it was difficult for a non-technical person to get involved, but it's getting easier all the time. And cryptocurrencies are powered by open source blockchain technology. Bitcoin uses a blockchain, but it's not the same thing as blockchain. And blockchain technology is here to stay. That's a sure thing. And it will eventually deliver on what it promises to do. And I think the people that will benefit the most haven't even been born yet. That's what I'm excited about. Wherever trust is a problem, blockchain offers a solution. It's like a protocol for trust that allows you to trade with another person without having to rely on some third party like a credit card company, eBay, Uber, Airbnb. But we have a lot to work to do. The internet wasn't built in a day. Blockchain combines the openness of the internet with the power of free markets. And it builds on concepts and technology that I've worked with for years in online transaction processing systems, OLTP. It uses cryptography to make a message secure with public keys and digital signatures, hashes and Merkle trees. And what's new is that the Bitcoin blockchain was the first to provide a solution to the double spend problem without having to trust a third party. But okay, unless you are into IT, you don't care about any of that. What you want to know is, what is Bitcoin and how do you buy it? A Bitcoin's unlike any financial instrument the world has ever seen. I'll do my best to demystify it for you. There's a lot of confusion because simple explanations leave out important details. And full explanations need broad knowledge to understand and a lot of time. And there's disagreement over whether it's a currency, a method of settling transactions, or a speculative asset. So let's start with what it's not. It's not a Ponzi scheme or a pyramid scheme. However, people are running those scams using Bitcoin, just as they've run them using other forms of money. But that doesn't make the money itself a scheme. It's not illegal for you to buy or sell Bitcoin. Bitcoin is not a company. So talking about its market capitalization is a little misleading. And Bitcoin has no employees. It's not a physical coin. You can't touch one. Those symbols are just for show. It's called a cryptocurrency, but it will have to get like 1,000 times faster before it would be usable as currency for everyone. Computers made music and movies cheap and easy to duplicate. And Bitcoin does the opposite, making a coin rare, expensive, and designed to rise in value. So Bitcoin brings scarcity to the digital world. Only 21 million Bitcoin can ever be created, and it will be 2140 before that happens. So a Bitcoin cannot be randomly and easily inflated, manipulated, counterfeited, frozen, or destroyed by someone else. You can destroy it yourself, though, just by losing your key. So what is Bitcoin? It's an open source computer project. Programmers donated their time to write code because they cared about it. And a Bitcoin represents equity in the Bitcoin transaction network. A Bitcoin is a number, which is like a unique address. It's tied to some computer code and recorded in a database that is a special kind of ledger called blockchain. It's decentralized so that you fully control what you own. There's no third party being able to interfere with what you're doing. And a Bitcoin can be traded between any two people, and the price is determined by the free market, supply and demand. So how badly does someone want it, and what is the owner willing to sell it for? Bitcoin broke the monopoly that governments have on the creation of money. It's like cash for the internet. Some countries have passed laws to explicitly accept Bitcoin as a legal payment method. So where do Bitcoins come from? Bitcoin mining is the process of finding the answer to a difficult puzzle. That's called proof of work. It's computationally difficult to come up with the answer, but it's easy to verify. It's called mining because hard work is being done. Nothing at all is actually being dug out of the ground. By design, a coin is mined every 10 minutes. The coin is payment to the miner for securing the ledger. So mining is one of the areas that causes a lot of confusion because when Bitcoin started, anyone could mine coins with a home PC. It was a fully decentralized peer-to-peer system. Today, half the Bitcoin in the world is mined in a few buildings in China. Only specialized computers with access to cheap electricity can profitably mine Bitcoin. and it costs almost $1,000 of electricity to mine a single coin. So there's nothing to stop other cryptocurrencies from being created. In fact, hundreds already have been. They're called altcoins because they're alternatives to Bitcoin, which was the first to gain mainstream success. And a programmer like me can even create my own coin, my own currency. The question is, why would anyone value it? And I predict that by 2022, 95% of all the altcoins are going to be worthless. And of course, some people are predicting Bitcoin will be worthless too. So let's talk about trust. If you live in a country with limited banking options or high levels of corruption, then you have the most to gain. I live in Canada, and for the most part, we have trustworthy institutions. They aren't perfect. But the 2008 financial crisis had many people asking, who can I trust? Can I trust the credit rating services? Nope. Can I trust financial institutions to not take excessive risk? No. Can I trust the government to oversee those institutions? Nope, not at all. Can I trust the government to not manipulate currency? Nope. So the next time there's a crisis, will the government confiscate my money? It's been done in other countries. So if you can't trust a bank or the government or credit raters, who can you trust? What third party is out there that you could put your faith in? And that brings us to Satoshi Nakamoto, the creator of Bitcoin. And Satoshi's answer is that you can trust the code, trust the math, and let the free market do the rest. But you don't have to trust any other centralized authority. So Satoshi, like myself, he's a C++ programmer. He authored an 8-page white paper that defined what Bitcoin would be. And then he wrote some code to support it. I recommend reading that before you buy any Bitcoin. I'll include a link to it in the show notes. So Satoshi is a Japanese man's name, so I'll refer to him as he. It's not actually known who he is. He could be Canadian. Satoshi could be a woman or a small team of people. He could be a 30-year-old genius. There's even speculation that Satoshi is the first self-aware artificial intelligence. We don't know. If I was Satoshi, I'd want to remain unknown too. That way, the idea of Bitcoin is judged entirely on its own merits. And another reason to remain unknown is that at the time, it wasn't clear if it was legal to create Bitcoin. It's assumed that he mined much of the Bitcoin in the first few months of its existence. And would governments retaliate against him? It's estimated that he owns around 1 million Bitcoin, and he hasn't spent any of it. So what can we learn from that? How can you make a fortune and not spend a dime? I can think of a few possibilities. One is he created Bitcoin as a public service. Maybe he's a tech billionaire who has more money than he can spend. Maybe he's a priest who took a vow of poverty. He might have lost his keys. If you lose your keys, then you've permanently lost access to your Bitcoin. There's no getting it back. He may have died, and his heirs are unaware that the keys exist or have value. Or maybe he's waiting. Maybe he believes that a coin will someday be worth $1 million, and that would make him the world's first trillionaire. So why kill the goose that's laying the golden eggs? If Satoshi wants to reveal himself, he can do so with a single encrypted email signed with his key. And Bitcoin's a great example of how you can get a lot done if you don't care who gets the credit. It's quite an accomplishment. So management of your cryptographic Bitcoin keys is very important. You know how to use a bank card. You need a short PIN number to prove that you're allowed to use it. And you don't write that number on your card. And you don't keep that PIN number in your wallet with your card. If you forget your number, you walk into the bank and they'll issue a new one. Cryptographic keys are too long and too complicated for most people to remember. If you lose a Bitcoin key, then you can never access that money again. So it's vital that you master key management. So, well, that's enough for today. I want to keep these shows short for you. If there's demand for it, I'll create a show on how to buy and protect your Bitcoin and the related keys. So thank you for watching this far. You know, there's lots of people who say they want to get into Bitcoin and learn all about it, but they're not willing to spend the time and effort to learn. So there are 3 things you can do right now. First, I promise to show you how to get $25 for free. So just create a free account with Tangerine, an online bank. You'll learn how to transfer money to and from your current bank. And if you deposit $100 and use the Tangerine Orange Key, which I'm going to put in the show notes, Tangerine will deposit $25 to your account. And this will get you comfortable with the idea of having a bank account with a bank that you can't walk into. And if that makes you nervous, then don't do it. But also don't buy cryptocurrency because Tangerine is far more regulated and trustworthy than any of the cryptocurrency exchanges. Second, create a free encrypted email account at Proton Mail. I've seen people who should know better lose their encryption keys. And again, when an encryption key is lost, then access is permanently lost. I'm repeating myself because it's so important. Proton Mail is a way for you to get started with cryptography and key management. You get experience working with PGP signatures, and also you can use that email for your cryptocurrency. I recommend just having a dedicated email address for that. But you can skip all these steps and just buy Bitcoin right now if you want to. In the show notes, I'll include a link to Coinbase, where they've made it easy. You can purchase a couple $100 worth of Bitcoin with your credit card. So my thanks to Sean for suggesting this show. And would you do me a favor and click on the thumbs up button to like this video, and click on the picture in the upper right corner to subscribe to this channel, because that would be helpful.
That's fairly interesting. This is the What to Know Show with your host, Peter Wayland.